The boy didn't look like trouble. He looked like dust, bare feet gray from the roadside, t-shirt hanging off one shoulder, hair tangled by sun and wind. He stood beside the humming ice freezer outside the lonely highway gas station, watching cars pass the way stray dogs watch storms. Wary, quiet, ready to disappear. He hadn't asked anyone for help. He hadn't moved for nearly an hour. That's why the bikers noticed him. 8 motorcycles rolled in together, engines rumbling like distant thunder. Chrome flashed under the afternoon sun. Leather vests, worn boots, tired faces, people who carried miles in their posture. When the engines cut, silence settled heavy over the pumps. The boy didn't step back, he stepped closer. A broad-shouldered rider with a gray braided beard swung off his bike and stretched his back. He caught the boy staring and softened his voice without thinking. "Hey there, little man, you okay?" The child hesitated, eyes darting to the others. No smiles, no threats, just watchful faces. He walked forward on unsteady legs and tugged gently at the man's vest. The biker leaned down. The boy whispered, voice so small it barely seemed real. "They took my sister." The words changed the air. The riders stilled. One woman removed her helmet slowly. Another man's jaw tightened. No one interrupted. The gray-bearded biker knelt to meet the boy's eyes. "Tell me what happened." "2 men," the boy said, swallowing hard. "White van. She told me to run. I hid behind the trash cans." His finger lifted, pointing west down the empty highway. "They went that way." No panic, no shouting, just a quiet shift of purpose. One rider handed the boy a bottle of water. Another draped a spare riding jacket around his shoulders. It hung to his knees, heavy and warm. "You did right," the woman said gently. "You found help." The gray-bearded man stepped aside and called emergency services, voice steady, giving details, location, direction of travel. When he ended the call, he looked toward the horizon where heat waves bent the road. "They don't have much time," he said. Helmets went on. Engines roared alive again, louder now, sharper, like a promise forming. One rider remained beside the boy, crouching so they were eye level. "We're going after her," she said softly. The child clutched the oversized jacket, eyes fixed on the departing bikes. 8 motorcycles surged onto the highway in tight formation, thunder rolling across the open land. And somewhere ahead, a white van drove on, unaware the quiet had just learned how to roar. The highway stretched long and empty, a ribbon of heat and dust cutting through scrubland and fading afternoon light. The bikers rode in tight formation, engines steady, eyes scanning every mile of asphalt and horizon. Speed alone wouldn't find a van that didn't want to be found. Experience would. At the front, the gray-bearded rider watched for signs. Most drivers missed. A broken patch of gravel, a fresh drift of dust where no wind blew, tire tracks veering off where the road looked forgotten. When he lifted his hand, the group slowed as one. A faint plume rose ahead from a narrow, dirt road barely visible between leaning fence posts. They turned without hesitation. Gravel snapped beneath tires. The air smelled of dry grass and old metal. The path twisted through low hills and abandoned farmland. Silence pressing in except for the hum of engines. Then they saw it. A white van, parked crooked beside a rusted gate. Driver's door open. No movement around it, the kind of stillness that feels wrong. The motorcycles spread out instinctively. 2 circled wide, cutting off escape. 3 approached from the front. The rest held position behind, forming a quiet wall of steel and presence. A man stepped from the van, irritation replacing surprise when he saw them. "Road's private," he snapped, voice forced louder than his confidence. The gray-bearded rider removed his helmet slowly. His gaze stayed steady, voice calm enough to unsettle. "We're not here for the road." The second man tried to slip from the passenger side, but a rider blocked him without touching him, simply standing where escape had been. From inside the van came a faint, trembling cry. The woman biker approached the sliding door carefully, every movement deliberate. She opened it just enough to see inside. A little girl sat on the floor, wrists loosely tied, eyes wide and searching. Fear lived there, but so did stubborn courage. "It's okay," the woman said softly, cutting the ties. "Your brother sent us." The girl blinked once, then burst into tears. Leaning forward as if the words themselves had untied something deeper, sirens began to echo in the distance, growing louder with every breath. The bikers stepped back, letting authority arrive to a situation already stilled. By dusk, they were back at the gas station. The boy stood waiting, wrapped in the oversized jacket. When he saw his sister step from a patrol car, he ran, stumbling, crying, laughing all at once. They collided in an embrace so fierce it seemed to anchor them to the ground. The gray-bearded rider crouched nearby, offering only a quiet nod. "You were brave," he told the boy. The child shook his head, clutching his sister. "I just asked for help." The biker's faint smile carried years of road and understanding. "Exactly," he said. As night settled and stars began to rise, engines rumbled back to life. One by one, the motorcycles rolled onto the highway, their taillights fading into darkness, leaving behind something loud,